Have you ever been on a trip and realized you packed something that turned out to be just completely useless? And quite honestly, just made your travel experience more difficult? What a travel day it has been. In today's video, we're gonna dive into 11 things that experienced travelers no longer pack. Even if you can eliminate one of these items from your packing list, you will find that your travel experience is met with much less frustration, as well as give you the freedom that comes with packing less stuff. Travel is continuously changing year after year, and the stuff we pack for those travels needs to keep up with those changes. So let's dive into what is holding you back from being a packing and traveling expert. Number one is cash, specifically $5, $6, $7. Just kidding, this was the only cash that I could find. Carrying cash while traveling, I feel like is something that has changed dramatically over the last 5 or 10 years. It used to be very common that when you're traveling, it was always a good idea to just have a couple $100s on you at all times, just in case you needed to pay for food, transportation, or really just for a sense of safety to make sure you have some money on you, just in case a situation arises where you need money, right? It was always a good idea to carry cash, but I feel like that has completely changed. Nowadays, with the advancement of credit cards, as well as just the internet, cash like this is no longer needed as much, being that so many places accept credit card, as well as a lot of transactions are now done on the internet. Even when we are traveling in countries in Asia like Thailand and Indonesia, we found that most places take credit card. And when we did need cash, it was super easy to just get it out of an ATM at that specific location. And that way, you're not at risk of getting a couple $100s stolen from you when you're traveling. Also, I would argue it's more safe to just rely on credit cards than it is cash. Because credit cards, you can always cancel the transaction, whereas cash, once you lose it, it's gone. Now, I will say there are specific occasions when carrying a few bucks on you is going to be important, but in general, I would steer away from carrying a ton of cash on your travels. Number 2, packing unnecessary cases and organizers. Things that look like this. Now, this is a mistake that me and my wife have made ourselves. And it took some time to start to learn when it was okay to use a case and organizer and when it wasn't, and where we could save some space. But for example, this is a GoPro case. Really nice, high quality case. But if you're trying to pack efficient and trying to pack less stuff, sometimes getting rid of these big bulky things can save you a ton of space. It's got my GoPro in it, but a lot of times I'll just pack my GoPro separately and maybe wrap it in like sock or something like that I'm already bringing, and I can save the space of not packing this. Another thing we've started to incorporate, and I've talked about this in another video as well, is I love these dry bags, or really just any bag that doesn't have a lot of structure to it, something that can mold to your suitcase well. I have this Sea to Summit dry bag. Like I said, I've mentioned it in some of my other videos, but I love this thing because I can fill it full of my technology or really whatever I want, and it kind of serves as a dual purpose for me, not only for travel, but also for my adventures, for keeping my stuff dry. And then you also can't forget about just the classic Ziploc bag. These are great for travel. They're not only great for TSA, for keeping things clear and see-through, but again, they're just great for holding stuff because they don't take up much space. It's a very thin layer. It's just a great option for travel. Number 3, investing in low-quality travel gear. This is a mistake that a ton of beginner travelers make, and to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to avoid. As we know, travel is really expensive the way it is, so it can just be human nature to maybe budget elsewhere, maybe get a little bit cheaper suitcase or backpack or toiletry bag or something like that. But let me show you a good example of what I'm talking about here. This is a toiletry bag that we got as a gift. Very thoughtful gift, see-through, great for TSA. We obviously used it because there's medications in it, but the zipper broke on like the first time that we used it. So if we want to use this again, we'd have to go buy another bag. And if it's of the same quality, most likely that one's going to break, and we're going to have to go buy another one, and another one, and another one. And so the point I'm trying to say is here, sometimes going the cheap route is not always the cheapest route. Investing in something that's a little bit more high quality, like this toiletry bag, I got this one from REI and it's lasted me for years because it's built well, good materials. Overall, this is a great toiletry bag, but this thing has lasted me years, which in the long run is probably saving me money. So I challenge you, if you're a beginner traveler and you're just starting to accumulate travel gear like suitcases and backpacks and such, try to pick one thing each trip that you're gonna invest in, something of high quality, because in the long run, it's gonna save you money. Now, I totally understand you're not gonna be able to just go out and invest in all the best high quality gear that your money can buy, because let's be honest, not many of us can afford that.
I declare bankruptcy!
But picking one thing each trip in the long run will create an arsenal of gear that will last years. Another one I always talk about is my backpack. This is the Wander 31 liter Provoke backpack. I have a whole nother video on this backpack specifically. If you want to watch it, I'll link it below about the details of why I really love this backpack. And it's just a high quality backpack. It's going to last you. It's going to save you money in the long run. So invest in high quality travel gear. Number 4. Unnecessary toiletries. I see this mistake made all the time, especially with beginner travelers. They feel like they need everything. They feel like they need their big shampoos, their face lotions, face oils, body lotions, feet lotions. Most likely, it's not necessary. You will have access to all of that stuff when you arrive in your destination. Maybe even the hotels or Airbnbs will have some of that stuff, like toothpaste and shampoo. So don't feel like you need to pack all of that stuff. If you do need to pack a very specific item, I would recommend packing it in something like this. This is a small little bottle. It's going to be TSA compliant, just enough for your travels, but this is going to be way easier to travel with than something like this. Also, I do need to mention one product that my wife wanted me to mention, which is dry shampoo. She like swears by this stuff, and she does. She uses this stuff all the time. So this might be a good alternative to your normal shampoo. Again, I don't know much about this, but I do know that this is easier to travel with than this. So finding stuff that's going to be easy for travel is going to be key with your toiletries. And to be honest with you, just don't overpack your toiletries. You won't need them. Number 5, books. Books, 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 books. And to be quite honest, Meg makes this mistake all the time. We'll be on a trip and she's like, I'm going to bring a book so I can read it. And guess what? You never read it. And look at how much space these things take up. They take up a crazy amount of space. A little something about me, I don't read at all. It's really bad. I wish I read more. I rarely ever read, so this is not a problem for me. But I know people really enjoy reading when they travel, so a great alternative is something like a Kindle or some sort of e-reader, something that's going to take up a lot less space and be a lot more efficient for travel. Books are just hard to travel with. You never know where to put them. They always make your hands full. And again, this is coming from somebody that doesn't read at all. So feel free to roast me in the comments for not reading. But I just see too often people carry books and they never actually get read. So I would just make sure the next time you're thinking about packing a book, you really make sure you're going to read it. Otherwise, it's just taking up space. Number 6, a passport cover. Now, I feel like these are starting to become more of a universal thing not to pack, and it's just because of the way your passport is handled. For those of you that maybe don't know, when you travel internationally with a passport, it's very, very hard to get through security and TSA and boarding with a passport cover on. You're essentially gonna have to take it off, and getting your passport in and out of these things is just a hassle. In theory, it's great because it'll keep your passport fresh. And to be honest with you, when I'm at home, I normally store my passport in this. But when I'm on the road, I just don't bother with this because it's just one more thing you're juggling, and it never ends up working how you want it to, just because you have to take it off so much. So don't pack these passport holder cover things. Okay, so we're about halfway through, but I want to hear from you. We've all made mistakes while traveling, but I want to know if you've made any mistakes when it comes to packing unnecessary items or items that just prove to be completely useless on your travels. If you have any of those mistakes that you've made, let me know in the comments. I want to learn from you because I feel like everyone has different travel experiences and we can all learn from each other. So put them in the comments of things that prove to be completely useless on your travels. Number 7, flashy clothes. And I feel like if anything's gonna make you stand out as an amateur traveler, it's gonna be this one. And keep in mind, I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't wear while you travel. I get it, everyone has different styles, different personalities, and you should feel comfortable to express that. But here are some things that you might wanna keep in mind when packing for your next trip. Most of the time, when you dress more flashy, you're gonna stand out more, which in a travel setting is maybe not always the best thing. It's gonna make you more susceptible to tourist scams, as well as just getting stuff stolen. Oftentimes, when you stand out, people maybe assume that you're uncomfortable in a setting or you're not as aware of your surroundings, so it can make you more susceptible to things like that. But I think it's less about flashy clothing for me and more about what more of a neutral colored clothing choice provides for me. What I really like about packing neutral colors and a neutral wardrobe is it gives me a lot of flexibility and freedom to pack less stuff. Packing grays, browns, blacks allows you to mix and match your tops, your bottoms, your shoes, so that way you don't have to pack quite as much stuff. It also allows you to be a little bit more comfortable in every situation. You can be comfortable at a formal dinner or a more casual get-together. Whereas flashy clothing is a little bit more limited when it comes to what situation you're gonna feel comfortable in. Again, keep in mind, wear whatever you want, but a lot of times I've found that more of a neutral style of packing goes a lot further than packing a bunch of flashy stuff. Number 8, traveling with expensive jewelry. And if you know me, you'll know that it's really hard for me to say the word jewelry, so I feel like I executed that pretty well. But anyway, we don't see the risk in traveling with this stuff. I see too often people traveling with really expensive watches or big diamond rings and earrings, and I feel like the risk is just too high. There's so many great alternatives that you can travel with that don't need to be your most high valued items. For example, we travel with rings, but we travel with these Kalo, I think is how you say it, just like rubber rings. This is my wife's, but it's just like a white rubber ring, still sends the appropriate message, but these things are like $10, so you're not out too much if you lose them. I've heard so many stories where people leave a nice bracelet or necklace at a hotel and they never find it again, or it gets stolen. I just don't see the risk. I've also heard, maybe a little tip for you, that people or women with engagement rings, they'll buy like a fake one for traveling, which I thought that was kind of genius, so that might be something you're interested in. But in general, do not travel with your most expensive items. You do not want to have to replace them. It just leads to a whole ton of stress if you lose them or get them stolen. So keep the expensive jewelry at home. Number 9, blankets. Don't bring them. They're unnecessary. Oftentimes, even on long flights, the airlines will give you a small blanket if you really, really want a blanket.
We've got a blanket?
I see way too often people carrying around these blankets in the airports, and I'm like, where the heck are you gonna put that thing? If you're a truly experienced traveler, you'll know to just dress more appropriately in layers to make sure that you're warm enough for your travel day. So get rid of the blankets, they're not needed. Number 10. Neck pillow or travel pillow. Now, I know I'm gonna be getting some heat for this one because I feel like there's two very passionate communities, the no travel pillow or neck pillow and the neck pillow people. But let me tell you the reasons why we don't travel with a pillow. We have traveled with a pillow before and we found it to just be we just found it to be a nuisance more than anything. We never knew where to put it, so we ended up like hooking it on the outside of our suitcase. And one time when we were traveling, we got rained on, it got all wet and soggy, and ever since that point, we just never traveled with one. And now most long flights, the airlines will give you a pillow.
We've got a pillow.
So we just don't find it to be super necessary. But I do know that people really, really enjoy them. So let me know in the comments. Are you somebody that travels with a pillow, or doesn't travel with a pillow like us? I'm curious to know. I know some of you are passionate about this topic, but for us, no pillow. Number 11, the just in case item. Let me tell you, this is hard for beginner travelers as well as expert travelers. This is something that is coming into constant practice for us when we pack for our trips. It is so natural to, when you're packing, to be like, well, what if? Well, just in case it does this, or just in case it rains, or just in case I do this.
Look at me! I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
But myself and Meg constantly remind ourselves when we're packing, do not pack any just in case items. We have found that those items tend to be useless when you're traveling. For example, workout clothes. If you're somebody that never works out,
Yes!
Oh my God!
let me tell you, you're not gonna work out randomly on vacation. Okay, if you're somebody that never uses a hairdryer, you're probably not gonna use it on vacation. Take accountability for what you put in your bag, and if you're saying, well, just in case, most likely you do not need it. That tip alone will save you tons of space in your suitcase. So the next time you pack for your trip, anytime you say just in case, get rid of it. Don't bring it. It's gonna be hard, but I challenge you to do that. All right, it's one thing to know what not to pack, but it's another thing to know what to pack. Recently, I just made a video about 10 essential items that you're gonna wanna pack on your next long haul flight. I would highly encourage you to give that video a watch. I'll link it down below. It really feeds off this video well to know what not to pack and now what to pack. But if you enjoyed this video, please give this one a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We will see you in the next video.